this is the community, this is the category that recognises those women whose contribution to society makes substantial difference to the lives of others. And what more could you ask of from your life in that you make a difference to the lives of others? Can I invite to the stage our three nominees, Louisa Blake, Sharita Mandongowe, and Marcella Turner. So, I can't see your badge, which one? Marcella. Sorry, that's really rude asking someone to pull the shirt apart, isn't it? I'm going to start, if it's all right with you, Louisa.
It is.
Thank you, because you've got the microphone. So, we've talked a lot today about the importance of learning and literacy, and we've talked about empowering children at an early age and recognising their individual developments. And as an early years teacher, you know all about that, don't you?
I do, yes. I've been an early years teacher for 29 years.
You don't look old enough.
Oh, bless you. It's all I've ever done. It's all I've ever wanted to do, and it's actually all I ever know how to do. I don't know anything other than early years. And I've just got to say, Alistair Bryce-Clegg, a little bit of a fan moment over here. Alistair Bryce-Clegg is one of my gurus, and he's as passionate about early years as I am. So yeah, it's something I've always believed in very strongly. I always say that if you cut me down the centre, I'd be like a stick of rock, and it would say early years through and through.
So for anyone who doesn't know, explain what age group we're talking about when we talk about early years.
For me, it's 3 to 5 year olds. Early years is 0 to 5, but in my school where I work, we've got 3 to 4 in Foundation 1 and 4 to 5 where I've had the pleasure of teaching for the last few years. But I'm an assistant head, so I oversee 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 year olds. Yeah.
So you get to see those little sponges taking on
daily.
all of that information and growing into their own little people.
Absolutely. I've been twittering all day, tweeting and letting them know, because part of what I believe with early years is that children need to have a purposeful curriculum. Things have to be real and relevant and purposeful. So on Wednesday I said to them, I'm not going to be here on Friday. I'm going to a posh hotel, I'm wearing posh clothes, and I'm up for an award. I might win, and one little boy said, you might not. I said, you're right, I might
There's
not.
always one, got to bring you down.
One. I said, you're absolutely right, I might not, but I'm going to enjoy the day. So I then asked them, if they were to win an award, what would they win an award for? And we did some work all about what their passions and their strengths were. So I believe in incorporating everything I do and making it relevant and purposeful for their education. So we've just had a Eurovision sweepstake. We've performed as countries, we've won prizes, we've sung, we've danced to Finland, cha-cha-cha, and we've had a fabulous week of Eurovision. We make it real. We bring it to life.
Making it real, absolutely. Making it real is where Luby Lou's lovely lunches came from, didn't it?
Absolutely.
Because you were looking after their minds, but you could see that there was something missing.
In lots of schools that I've worked in areas of extreme deprivation, and I've worked in the leafy suburbs. And I always say that problems aren't postcode specific. They can happen anywhere. And as I was teaching the youngest children, I would notice that at holiday times, their behaviour would change. And some people would say, oh, he's playing up today, or he's doing this and he's doing that. And I'd say, we break up on Friday. They know from habit that their safe space, their security, their meal of the day is not going to be there. Their behaviour, because children don't behave badly. Children aren't naughty, they don't do things purposefully. They behave in a way that says, look at me, listen to me, I need to tell you something important. And what they were telling me was, I'm concerned that I'm not going to have my meal every day. I'm concerned that I'm going to be in an environment that I won't get a break from. I'm concerned that I won't have my friends to play with, my teachers to look after me, and everything that I need to be a little human being.
And this is back in 2015, so way before Marcus Rashford took the headlines.
I always say, well done, Marcus Rashford. What Marcus Rashford has done is he's used his notoriety, which is fantastic, to highlight the problem. However, I'd already, as had many people, recognised that problem and had started to do something about it. I don't have the notoriety of Marcus Rashford, so what I did was I put my money where my mouth was, and I said, I can see these children need something. What am I going to do? Many years ago when I was 5, I think I was 5, might have been younger, my parents had divorced, and we lived in what would be deemed to be poverty at the time. And it was Christmas and my mum had 3 children and we had no money. So she was a very proud lady, a very strong lady, still is. And she went to the Salvation Army and said, I need some help. And she's always made us remember that someone else helped us. And I just thought, you know what, as a teacher, I've got a huge audience. I've got a huge amount of people to draw from to say, do you know there's other people out there that are not as fortunate as you? Can you help them? So when I realised that something needed doing, I thought, 1, I want to pay it forward, and 2, I've got such a huge audience to draw from that can help me. So I set up, as a child I was called Luby Lou. So I set up Luby Lou. I added the lovely lunches, bit of alliteration, obviously a primary school teacher, it's indoctrinated in me.
I work for the BBC, I love alliteration.
Yeah, love a bit of alliteration. So it was Luby Lou's Lovely Lunches. Set up a Facebook page because I also work for Wirral's Homeless and I cook for Wirral's Homeless once a month. I'm a driver for Wirral's Homeless once a week, and my children are teeny weeny angels, and at the age of 4 and 5 they cook for Wirral's Homeless as well because they need to understand people aren't always as fortunate. And I thought Wirral's Homeless have this Facebook page and they ask people to, will you cook? Who's going to cook today? I thought, I'm going to have a bit of that. I'm going to use that formula. So I put a diary up, made a Just Giving page. I said, I want to support children in the main holidays, summer, Easter and Christmas. And I want to feed those children that would ordinarily get free school meals. And I want to deliver them a lunch every day. And I wanted to cut out the part whereby they might have to go to a centre and maybe they didn't have the money to get to that centre. So I set up a diary. People offer to donate lunches or make lunches. They'd drop everything off at my house. My fiance's over there, and we used to say, we would be like this at the end of the day in the living room because there'd be 250 lunch bags in front of us. We could just about get our knees up against the sofa. If it was a sausage roll day, the smell was not great. But we would pack 250 sausage rolls in your living room is never good. So we would pack the lunch bags, and then the next morning I would get up 6 a.m, pack my car with 250 lunches, and I would drive around the whole of Wirral, for those of you know Wirral. So I would drive, it would take me 5 to 6 hours because I would knock on their doors and drop the lunches off. I've been doing that for 6 years now, every holiday. And during COVID, we went to 450 lunches a day. So I took some extra help then.
That in itself deserves a round of applause.
So, yeah. But what's nice is those children, 6 years on, they recognise me. Oh, Luby Lou's here. Here's Lou with the lunches. I do have one lady that shortens me to Lube, which I'm not overly... Not liking that when she shouts down the road, Lube, have you got me lunch? But they know me and they recognise me. And I have one family, for instance, that had 6 children when I started. They've now got 10. So they've grown with me. I've got children that sometimes I think, I'm sure you must be about 23 by now. But these families need that support. They appreciate that support. And they love the fact that we take it to the door. Mother's Day, I deliver a present for each child to give their mum on Mother's Day, because if you're a single mum, who buys your present? I was a single mum for a long time. Christmas, we deliver Christmas Eve bags. You have to have reindeer dust, you have to have snowman soup, you have to have everything that's magical, candy cane, so we deliver those on Christmas Eve. And I deliver a Christmas present for the children to give to their mums, and a selection box. At Easter, they all get an Easter egg. New Year's Eve, parents probably kill me because they get party blowers, party poppers, you name it. But it's to make sure that those children get the same as everybody else. So between 250 and 450 a day, 5 days a week for each of the main holidays for the last 6 years.
Thank you. An extraordinary job you're doing, and it will make an awful difference, a big, massive difference to a whole generation.
But I just love it. People sometimes say to me, as I heard people saying before, it's inspiration. I say, well, I just get in my car, I put my tunes on, I've got my lunches in the back. Because it made me laugh, I was looking at everyone's photos, they're all professional, I'm in my car with a selfie with my lunch bags behind me.
Yeah, never mind that, what are you playing? What's the music?
80s, I'm an 80s Pop-Tart. 80s Pop-Tart through and through. So I get in my car, heated seat on, music on, and I just love every moment of, it takes me a long time to make the lunches and pack them all up, but I just love it, and I love seeing the children and knowing that it's not a huge difference, but it's a difference that's been made.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm just going to read a paragraph of this because it nearly had me in tears. A car crash left Sharita in a coma, needing life-saving spinal injury. During this time, she also became a widow, leaving her caring for 2 children with learning difficulties whilst grieving for her husband. But coming to terms with her situation, Sharita decided to use her experience to support other women in a similar situation. I would hate any woman would end up in a similar situation, but that is massive. At a time when you could have been selfish and sunk into your own depression, to want to do that is incredible. And so how did you start to make a difference? Tell me about the Demobi Children's Disability Trust.
Yeah, when I started, my life was not easy. It was ups and downs. And I was a police officer in this country, and I did criminology, forensic psychology. So I have 2 children with disability. I didn't know what it is. And me and my late husband, we didn't know what it is. I didn't even know, because the job I was doing is only arresting people. And I didn't know anything about disability. So when we have first child, we didn't realize till when he started going to school. And the school was telling us, your child has challenges. I said, no, there's nothing. I think they are just picking my child. Because I was always going to work. My husband was always at home. So by the time the teachers come and ask us, I think we were in adamant, keep saying our child is okay, there's nothing wrong. And I have another one again. And then we didn't even realize, everybody around us noticed there's something wrong with my children. But we didn't. But I did social work, and I said I need to go to school. When I went to school, that's when I realized there is a problem. But it was too late. If we did early intervention, it was going to be better. But underline, I'm working, and my husband passed away with heart attack. He was 41. I started thinking what I'm going to do. I don't have parents. I don't have anybody. I've got only my children. And then I have to be strong. I started going down gradually. That was 2014, my husband passed away. And then I started going down. And I went to doctor. I started taking depression medication. And then one day I just think, what I'm doing? These children, because I didn't want to talk to anybody anymore, even it was difficult, I just want to take the children to say I've had enough. I can't cope, because I was thinking, what happened with my husband, because he died when we were sleeping. So I was just thinking how I'm going to cope. And then I resigned from police force. I resigned my work, and I said I need to look after my children, on which I did the right thing. I didn't think I'm so passionate on what I'm doing today. When I lost my husband, I started thinking what I'm going to do. One day in the morning, I said, I don't want to take this medication. I call my doctor. I just take the whole bag. I say, I'm not going to take this. It was only 6 months. I say, if I continue taking this, I don't want to lose my children, even me, myself. I think I'm going to be fine. He said, are you sure? I said, yes. And then I meet Benny Hood from Talbot House, and they know my story. And then she said, Sharita, you are a very strong woman. So what do you want to do? Think of it, all my years, I was working. All of a sudden, I'm on benefits. I'm a carer for my children. All those things, it was challenges for me. It was hard. But I didn't look back to say, I'm going to struggle. I say, enough is enough. I started lift up myself. And then I say, I need to start a charity myself what I'm going to do. I said, no, I want to start a charity for widow. I said, no, but I don't know about widow. And then I said, no, I've got children. I was in denial. I think I can change other people's lives. That's how I started Dimobi. And I use my money for carers allowance. That's how I started. And I pay all my money. I did that almost 1 year. And then Benny would say, Sherita, you can't continue. I know you have passion, but you can't use your own money to establish. I said, but I like it. But afterwards, you turn your problems into solution. That's what I did. And then after that, we got a funding, massive funding. Benny would help me to secure the funding. And then we started with 10,000. That's when I know now I'm starting doing something. And if I look back, the lives have changed. So many parents in Dimobi, we do parent forum. So in Dimobi, we tackle denial, isolation, stigma, shame.
So this is parents who also have children with disabilities?
Yes.
So you're there to help them either to do early interventions, to notice that there might be something wrong with their child, but to also say it's okay to admit that there's something wrong.
Yes. So we promote acceptance. So during the COVID, we work hard. Even I was using my money as well during the COVID. I started the food bank, on which that food bank we did during the COVID, we were called Dimobi Yellow Jumpers, on which we had a massive achievement. We won Queen's Award on last year.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah, so it's nothing. You can do anything in the really life. My life wasn't easy because I suffered a lot. Last 2 weeks, I was hit by a car. Even my hand, I don't feel anything. But I'm still working in the community. I don't stop. And I think I was born to change lives. I was come back to change lives. That's what I'm doing. During the COVID as well, I realized Dimobi is a trusted organization. Lots of people knows. I support parents to court, defend them. I challenge the system. I challenge the schools. Myself, I realized when I did criminology, forensic psychology, I realized I have disability as well. So I defend, I'm the voice for disability. I challenge school, I challenge social workers because there's so many things parents don't understand. So we work with the school together. We do mediation, we do parent forum, we do children activities as well. We do children trips, and we have a new service we started during the COVID for domestic violence with parents who has got children with disabilities. That service is now growing massively. The things we are hearing, women, we are very strong. Thank you so much.
So, Marcella, welcome.
Hello there.
I'm not going to say anything about you winning a prize in the raffle. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So Marcella founded Can Survive UK, which is a support and information for people with cancer, from your home in 2016 with a phone, a laptop, and loads of passion.
Yeah.
Why did you feel so strongly about this?
I started Can Survive UK because previous to starting Can Survive UK, I cared for my father for 3 years. he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and when he was diagnosed, it was too late. And it was during the process of caring for my father with prostate cancer that I realised that there was a lack of awareness about cancer in the community, and because prior to my father being diagnosed, I'd never heard of prostate cancer, never heard of it. And it was through the process also I realised that there was a lack of cultural appropriate support for community members with cancer. So I cared for my dad until he died, and then 18 months later I lost my mother to bowel cancer, and she was diagnosed 3 days before she died of it. And so I guess I turned that grief into passion, and I started Cancer Survive UK.
I know what that pain's like. I've just lost my mum to bowel cancer, so the early diagnosis that Sheikha was talking about before really resonates, doesn't it? But it's a big step, though, from going from having lost two parents to wanting to actively get involved in something. It's a big undertaking, and many of the people in this room will appreciate that, that you could quite happily sit with your grief and with your pain and wallow, but you didn't. So how did you start? Where do you start when you're still dealing with grief?
I'd been working in the voluntary sector, in the voluntary charity sector, so I'd been working there for the past, before my dad died, for 10 years. So I just utilised all that experience, all the knowledge that I'd gained, all the networks, and I started Cancer Survive UK. It was supposed to be only a support group, because I just wanted to start something for community members who were living with and caring for someone with cancer.
To give an opportunity to talk to other people in similar circumstances.
Yes. And so it started off as a support group, and then from there it just grew and grew and grew, and it just made me realise that there was a need for cancer, for Cancer Survive. We started off in Manchester, and now we've just been funded to replicate our support groups across all the other 9 localities of Greater Manchester. And it's hard work. It's not easy work. It isn't anyone who runs a business, it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's a 7-day-a-week job. But the thing is, for me, it's so rewarding, especially when you get a service user who comes to you and say, if it hadn't been for Cancer Survive, they would have taken their own life because they couldn't cope with having cancer. There was nowhere to go. There wasn't anyone to speak to. And so it's, I'm a strong believer that that we are all here for a reason, and I truly believe that before we leave this earth, that we should have all done something to impact positively on somebody else's life, and so that's what I'm trying to do.
And Cancer Survive is now advising other people working with cancer charities on culturally appropriate ways of talking to people and working with communities.
Yes. We are working with other cancer charities like Macmillan. We also work with Christie's. We also work with Manchester Cancer Research Centre. We work with a range of other larger charities, and it isn't about just having a charity for. I believe that everything should be inclusive, and so our charity, even though it is targeting the Black African, Black Caribbean, and Asian community, it's for everybody. We have service users from all nationalities, because, as we know, 1 in 2, the current statistics is 1 in 2 will get cancer, will be diagnosed with cancer. And so therefore, for me, it's about all the organisations coming together to ensure that people who are going through with cancer have that wraparound service.
Marcella, thank you very much. Your
Thank
parents
you.
will be very proud of you.
Hi everyone, it's a privilege to be here on behalf of BBC Radio Manchester and to be in a room full of such inspirational and wonderful people, and you can sense the atmosphere and it's such a supportive vibe just generally, so it's been a privilege to be here. Michelle alluded to this at the start, but BBC Local Radio and BBC Radio Manchester is all about community, so it's great to be able to support this award, and I know that we have as a station for a really long time, and hearing those stories were, well, they were all incredible, so I don't know who's the winner, but you're all amazing, so I will just announce it now. And the winner is Marcella Turner.
Thank you very much. I'm really humbled and I'm really, really honoured to accept this award on behalf of the service users. I'd like to say thank you to my trustees, two of which I have with me here today, Yvonne and Winsome. Also to Cancer Lab UK's staff, volunteers. Thank you, Sonia. I've got Sonia with me today. And also my dear friend Jay. But I'm going to dedicate this to my mum and dad. Thank you.
This is the part of the event where we get to hear from a guest speaker. And I have to say, having sat next to this lady for on and off this afternoon, that I feel like one lazy SOB, quite frankly. Because when I get to 59, which is not that far down the road actually, I intend to be pretty much blotto most of the time, drowning out what's happened in the previous 58 years, but particularly probably the last 5. And basically, a bit like, actually, Jacqueline's opening video, sitting on a couch with popcorn, watching Netflix, reruns of The Crown, that sort of stuff, aspirations to be a queen, that sort of thing. Was very jealous of Miss England's crown for more than one reason. I would not imagine myself being prepared to do what Viv Barclay is preparing to do, which is get in a boat on my own with 2 sticks with big ends on, back to the sausage jokes, and then cross the Atlantic on my Todd. I can imagine there'd be quite a lot of people that would be quite happy to see me off on that journey so that they could have a significant period of quietness, but it ain't going to happen. So Viv, you're going to be asked a few questions, but I've already told you what mine is going to be, is what the bloody hell is wrong with you, woman? Why aren't you just sitting on the couch knitting shit?
Oh, I've knitted lots of shit
Fair
up
enough.
until now. Clearly I need help. Clearly I do. But one of the reasons I wanted to do this was in 2016 I saw 4 middle-aged women. They were in their mid-40s, early 50s.
I remember this.
And they were called the Yorkshire Rose from York. And they did what I'm doing. They got in a boat and they rowed themselves across. And they are still the Guinness World Record holders for being the oldest foursome to do that. And they weren't athletes or anything. They didn't come from a very active background. They didn't do extreme sports or anything like that. They were just ordinary mums. And they went, you know what? We're going to challenge some stereotypes and break some glass ceilings, and this is what we're going to do. And I saw their journey. I saw it on BBC Breakfast, and I was just blown away by it. And I thought, if they can do that, then so can I. And I think, you know, if you can see it, you can do it. But at the time, I was looking after my mum. She had Alzheimer's. My youngest daughter was still at school, and it just wasn't just wasn't the time. And now my youngest daughter's grown and she's flown, and so she's at university, and so time and space has opened up. And so I signed up for it, and I'm going for it.
Now, I've seen stuff on telly and I've thought, oh, do you know, I'd really like to do that, including watching Tim Peake, thinking, yeah, I'd quite like to be an astronaut, rather than just a space cadet. But to actually make that move and think, I'm going to sign on the dotted line and I'm going to do this, I wouldn't even know where to find the dotted line.
I think, it's certainly not for everybody. And this is probably where the question, are you mad, comes from. Because if I didn't
do it in a voice like that.
If I had £1 for every time I've been asked that question, then I'd have my campaign money, no problem. But I don't know, that when you know, when you feel drawn to something, you just, if you don't do it, then you get to the end of your life and you look back, and I imagine, and I don't want to be in that position where I am looking back and thinking what could have been. And, I've just got to give it a go. I don't know whether I'm going to get to the other side, but I'm going to give it my best shot.
One hell of an experience, even finding out. So I've got
Thank you. Thank you.
I've got some great questions for you. Obviously not as good as the ones I would have come up with, I'm just saying. So first question is from Kate Oldfield on table 12. And she asks, how do you maintain your own sanity when you're left to your own thoughts for long periods of time?
That's a good question, and I'm going to find out. I am lucky enough to be supported by the University of Salford, their sports science department. And I'm working with a psychologist, I'm working with a nutritionist, and I'm working with a personal trainer as well. And so the psychological aspect of it is an important part. So on day 3, when you set off from La Gomera in the Canaries, and you've had a couple of nights out there on your own, and you're probably a couple of 100 miles into it, then day 3 is the day where it lands the enormity of what you've done. And that's the typical day where everybody freaks out. And so planning is a big thing. And so I'll be working with the psychologist to put into place strategies and techniques and plans, basically, for those times. There are also going to be times when I'm really, really scared. So the waves, I'm going to be in a boat that's about 24 foot long. But out in the middle of the Atlantic, you get really tall waves. And if you can imagine, the waves are going to be about as high as the ceiling in this room, if not a little bit higher. And so the waves don't crash over on top of the boat, though. The boat is that light that you get carried up and then you surf down the other side. And initially, I've been told by other rowers, that initially when you set off and you're in big seas like that you're scared shitless. Sorry, but you are. But then when you're into it and you've been doing it for a few weeks, that when you get that big weather, when you get those big seas, that you're like, yeah, come on. Because you get used to it. You get used to your environment, and you really want the big seas to get you to the other side as quickly as possible.
So as part of your training at Alton Towers?
Yeah, I'm not really keen on roller coasters, but it is going to be. Yeah, I have been on one or two, but it is going to be a little bit like that, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Deborah Walker on table 11 asks, maybe appropriately after the wave story, how far can you actually swim?
Not 3,000 miles. I'm not anticipating swimming 3,000 miles. Swimming is part of my training, though, so it's really good aerobic exercise, and being the age that I am, it's obviously supporting my body, my joints as well, but it's a really good workout for the muscles and also for my breathing. And last year I could possibly swim, I don't know, I could do a couple of lengths of our local pool, which is 30 metres, so I could probably do about 60 metres without stopping. Now I can do over a mile. So I've still got a long way to go, but you know, a mile, I'm pretty chuffed with
No,
that.
I'd hope someone would pick you up before you were in there for that long.
There is a lifeboat on board the boat, so should the worst come to the worst and I have to abandon, then you abandon to a life raft. I don't plan on doing that, so.
But there's a big difference, isn't there, between pool swimming and open water swimming? As
Yeah.
someone who now lives on an island, who has been encouraged, guys like watching Shamu getting beached, I tell you, who's been encouraged to do sea swimming throughout the winter, that in itself must be quite an adjustment.
Yeah, I mean, you have to do all sorts of training before you even get to the start line. You have to complete mandatory courses, and one of them is sea survival. And I've already done that. I did that last year, but I will probably do that again because it's, you know, we were all laughing and giggling, jumping off into the pool and stuff like that. When we had the life jackets on, then the life jackets have a hood, so you put the hood over. And to experience a little bit about what it was like, then we had all of our colleagues in the pool and they were splashing the water like this. They were chucking water at us as much as possible. And it was really unpleasant. It was really unpleasant, but it did give you a proper idea of what it was going to be like. But my takeaway was that it's survivable. You know, I could do it.
Well, you can come and swim in Guernsey. Come over.
I'd love to.
Yeah, and then I won't have to get in. You could have my wetsuit. So our next question is from Nadine on table 9. What impact do you hope to have made after this challenge?
I think about this a lot, and when Marcella was speaking earlier, I think she said it best, that you know, she hopes that everybody makes a positive impact on somebody's life while we're here. And I hope to do the same with this challenge. I'm raising money for the menopause charity. 17 million of us are going through menopause at the moment in the UK.
God, tell me about it.
Yeah. So that can be perimenopause, menopause, post-menopause. And I'm post-menopausal, but I've still got my patch. And so the menopause charity, I was going to say was only 14% of those 17 million women are actually receiving any sort of treatment at all, any sort of support, which is quite shocking. So if I can ask you, how many of you have an experience of a menopause policy at work? Lady over there. How many of you would like to have a menopause policy at work? Yeah. So this is part of the work that the menopause charity does. They provide information-based, evidence-based information to people going through menopause. They go into businesses, companies to give information about menopause policy and supporting women in the workplace. And this is because I lost about 6 years of my life sat on the sofa watching Netflix, because one of the symptoms of menopause that I didn't realise, because I didn't know very much about it. I thought I did, but I didn't know very much about it, is detachment. And so I just sat there and, you know, the world was going on around me and I was watching Netflix. In fact, one of my, when my daughter was at school, one of her friends said to her, "What does your mum do?" And she said, "She watches Netflix." Which is, yeah.
Sobering.
Yeah.
Well, that leads nicely into a question then from Lindsay Stevens on table 5, who says, what advice would you give a woman who thinks she's starting the menopause?
I would find out as much information about it as possible. There is the menopause charity. There's Dr. Louise Newson she's on Facebook. She's on Instagram. There is another charity. The Menopause Society of the UK, I think. As well as I was going to say, reach out to your medical professional as well, but I've just tried to get an appointment with my doctor. It took me a month to get there.
Sheikah.
However, when I did get to sit down and have a chat with her, she was absolutely amazing. She was really brilliant. So speak to your medical professional and seek advice from the charities, because there's loads of information out there. There's lots of menopause coaches as well, but I'd approach the charities first.
And a question that quite a lot of people have asked, but this one's from Liz, not Professor Price. She asks, how do you train for something like this?
Well, at the moment I'm in the gym a lot. So I'm doing CrossFit, I'm doing a lot on the erg, on the row machine. I'm doing weight training as well, and I have to say I'm really, really enjoying the weight training, because, once you start lifting more weight, you start off with a little bit and then you increase the weight, and it is so empowering. It's like, oh yeah, look at me. And so I'm in the mirrors, because generally I go training. It's a little gym in Settle, CrossFit gym, and I go in at the crack of dawn, and there's nobody else there, so I've got the whole gym to myself. So there's a wall of mirrors, and so I am like this in front of the mirror. I'm like, oh yeah, mummy, look at me, so strong. And then when I'm doing deadlifts, right, so you're doing this, I go, yes, mummy. It's really, nobody's watching, nobody's looking at me, and so I can have fun with it. And but I do feel really powerful. I swim as well. Later on this year, so the race is, the event is run on an annual basis, and so the girl who's going in the boat that I'll be going in December 2024.
Because it's not your own boat, it's like
it's not my own boat.
a special boat that gets passed from competitor to competitor.
Yeah, I mean, we buy it, so we buy the boat and it gets passed on from one rower to another. So the girl who's rowing this year is in Switzerland, and so in September, I'm going over to where she lives, and then I'll be doing a little bit of training with her on Lake Constance. Oh dear, how awful. Really looking forward to that. I've done some coastal rowing at Tynemouth as well. That was really good. I thought I'd better have a go and see whether I liked it or not. So I did that last year. It was after I signed up, and then I went, better go and see whether I like it. And so, so I went to Tynemouth, and they were really super supportive. They were really lovely. But most of my on-water training is not going to happen until summer next year. So the boat will be passed to me when Mel finishes, and so the boat will come back from Antigua probably about March or April next year.
You want to go and get it.
March or April next year. And then I can start my on-water training. So I'll probably start on a lake. So I live in Settle, which is only an hour or so from the Lake District. So I'll probably go up to Windermere first of all. And then lots of previous rowers have had their boat in the marina at Hartlepool, and then they've done their on-water training on the North Sea, so I'll probably do that as well.
Like I say, you can bring it out to Guernsey.
I'd love to bring it to Guernsey. That
Buy you a drink? Just one. It's very expensive over there. Just one final question. Mm-hmm. Something like this isn't cheap.
No, it's not. I have to raise in the region of about £100,000 in order to get to the start line. And so the race isn't just, the event, the challenge isn't just going from La Gomera and then rowing the 3,000 miles to Antigua and having a really nice holiday afterwards. The really challenging bit is getting to the start line. And so one of the reasons I'm here, apart from to celebrate all of you fantastic women, and your stories have been truly inspiring, is to ask you, how amazing would it be to be involved in helping somebody to achieve a Guinness World Record, and for that woman to be an older woman?
No, a grown-up.
A more mature woman. Because then when it is a more mature woman, it's the message to all women is that we can do anything because we're incredible. And I'm really looking for backing for this, because that message is very important to me.
Everybody, Viv Barclay.
Thank you very much.
And if they do want to stick their hands in their pocket or cash in some of that bling?
There is a little leaflet on your table, So my team name is Momentous, M-U-M. My website is live. The leaflets have got a QR code on it, but the QR code doesn't work, but the but the website does. So if you're at all interested in my coming to your business to chat with your staff or anything like that, then give me a shout. I'm really open to anything at the moment.
Well, good luck from all
yes,
of
there
us.
is a GoFundMe page, and the details are on the leaflet or on my website. And thank you very much. Thank you.